All right, we want to welcome you guys to our little live stream informational. We'll give some people a chance to get in. If I haven't met you, maybe you registered your kid because they were invited by another kid, and maybe you're watching this later or whatever it is. My name is Lane. I'm the student pastor at First Baptist Church in Marble Falls, and we'll be the one speaking at our fall retreat this weekend. And kind of over a bunch of different facets of it in different capacities. If you're watching this later, you won't be able to engage this part of it, but if you're watching this now, there's a chat function as you're watching this on YouTube. So the reason that we do this instead of Zoom is so that way a bunch of people don't have to try and log into a Zoom chat. We have to deal with mutes and things like that. But if you have a question as I'm going along, there's a little chat function on YouTube that you can go to and type something in it. I'll type something in there right now, and if you can type in there, and I will get to that chat function as we go along. One of the things, just as we get started, I'm going to reference a lot of information that is actually at our registration link. I'm going to put that link here. It's got a pretty long list of some things that you should know. I'm going to go over some of those and then also elaborate on some of those. So it's not just going to be kind of a regurgitation of what you might see on there. And also some of that information has kind of grown and developed over time. And so we put up as much information as we have when we opened registration just 6 weeks ago. And then our team is kind of building stuff as we go along. And so we've added some stuff in there. So if you registered maybe really early on and you haven't gone back to that page, there's going to be some information there for you. One of the first things that has been a little bit confusing that maybe you've seen is the paperwork that is due. And so I want to touch on some things that you're going to need in regards to that paperwork. And some of you are like, oh, I didn't have it in by Sunday, and you got an email that it was due Sunday. And then some of you, registration doesn't even technically close until tomorrow night at 11 o'clock, which is just good information for you to have. That's when registration closes. So if you've got other parents of students that are asking you, or your kids' friends that are asking you, that link is still open. It'll stay open till 11 o'clock tomorrow night after the loft. But the Highland Lakes form on our page, for some reason they send it over, and the adult and student form is connected. And at the top page that you see is the adult form. When you should have gotten an email with some of the paper forms that you need when you first registered. And you're going to want to scroll past that adult one and go straight to the student one and fill that one out. So just make sure that you don't fill the adult one out. The second thing is you're going to need your COVID release. The third thing is there's a symptom checker that's on there. And some of you guys have turned in your symptom checker early. Not all that paperwork do you need to turn in early. Just the first two forms is the Highland Lakes form and the COVID release form. You do need to turn those in. The symptom checker is just so you can see what they're going to be checking for Friday at drop-off. And they're going to check those symptoms and check temperature before you ever get on a van with other kids and other teenagers. And then the fourth one isn't actually a form. It's just a list of some of the COVID policies. And we're going to touch on some of those tonight as well. But just so that way you can see what precautions that the camp is taking. It doesn't say a lot about their mask protocol. And so I'm going to go over some of that tonight as well. It's on that link that I attached in there. But those are the 4 pieces of paper. Only 2 of them are actually due to us, and 1 of them will be filled out when you get ready to go do drop-off. In regards to drop-off, that's one of the more difficult parts of camp. So we do a fall retreat, and this has been something that's evolved from Citywide that we've done over the last 3 years. We changed the name to Fall Retreat because we don't actually come together with all the youth pastors in the area to do it anymore. It quickly became an event that was about 95% just our students. And then we took it retreat style last year and really enjoyed that. And so we were in a meeting with some students, and they were like, well, it's not really Citywide because Citywide was this thing over here. And so this is something else. And so we renamed it, called it Fall Retreat. But it's the same thing that we did last year, just at a different location, which is Highland Lakes encampment. Danny Dottie is a church member of ours. They're being incredibly awesome, doing a whole ton for us. And we're going to get a top of the line treatment for the most affordable retreat that you can have in the state of Texas. COVID year, not COVID year, doesn't matter. And so we're really excited for what that's going to be. But drop-off will be at First Baptist Church in Marble Falls. There will actually be 2 departure times, and you need to make sure that you eat dinner before you come. Our first time will be 5:45. That's our middle school departure, and we do that because we only have so many vehicles that we can get a hold of, even with just what our church has. And normally we'd kind of borrow some vehicles, but it's hard on a Friday night with a bunch of sports going on around in Central Texas for us. And so we just have what we have on Friday. And so our first departure will be 5:45. That's middle school. You'll want to show up about probably 20 minutes early to start getting your paperwork in. They're going to label your luggage so that way they know whether it's guys or girls luggage, so they know what cabin to drop it off at. And you'll kind of go through a process, I think through the front doors and through the auditorium when you get there Friday. And so that 5:45 departure is for middle school. Now, if you're a middle school student, you go, man, I can't make 5:45. I think the way that our numbers are going to unfold, like if you need to come to the 7:15, or if you're a high schooler that needs to come to the 5:45 to get out there, that's totally cool. And if we fill up in that 5:45, we'll have some stuff going on at the church to just be able to hang out and chill until the next caravan leaves. You won't miss anything. All we're doing out at camp during that time is orientation with those groups that are coming out. And so they're not going to miss like a big part of camp or anything. The second departure is for high school at 7:15. Again, I would show up about 20 minutes early, get checked in, get paperwork checked in, symptoms checked, all that kind of stuff. And then they will leave at 7:15. They also need to have dinner, eaten and taken care of before. If you have a volleyball game that night, or you're a Faith Academy football player, or something like that, you can come straight out to Highland Lakes later that night. Our first worship service actually won't be till 10 o'clock that night to allow for those players' stuff to come in late. And so if you even talk to parents and they're like, my kid's not going because they have a Friday night thing, they can come late. We scheduled a late worship session that first night, so that way everybody could come in late and not miss anything. And they'll come out and they'll just meet us right at Highland Lakes, and they will get their symptoms checked there before they continue on into the rest of the retreat. If you could drop off your paperwork off at the church and even your luggage early that Friday at the office or something like that, then they can at least load it up and get all their stuff out there ahead of time, so that we don't have to worry about that when they get there. All I ask from you is, if you're coming late and directly to site, that you send me an email so we can make a list of that. Dawn Jones is our event manager for the weekend, and she's going to need that list. And so if you'll just email me about the time that you plan on getting out there, a rough estimate, even if you get it within like a half hour or something like that, then that way we know who's coming in, because it's a gated entry, and just making sure that we can get you in and all that kind of stuff. And that we know to check your symptoms and get you to your cabin and all that. So just shoot me an email, so that way we have that. It's no big deal. People come late every year. This year's a little nice because there's no football game at Marble, and that's a big crowd of people that we won't have to worry about coming in late. But we're ready for that, and we know that and how that's going to work. On the vans, every student will wear a mask on the van. It will be the closest quarters that they're in for the entirety of the trip. And so even though we're checking symptoms and checking temperatures, every teenager will wear a mask in the van on the way to retreat. That's kind of the first mask protocol kind of on the way there. Once we get there, some of the policies and mask policies that are taking place. One, in the cabins, which again is probably like one of the more closed quarter areas that they're going to be in for the longest period of time. Highland Lakes has a plastic shield on one side of every bed, so that way technically every bed is separate from the bunk beds next to them. And then they also sleep kids head to toe. And so like if I'm sleeping this way and my head is on this end, then the next bed next to me is sleeping this way with their head on this end. And they're also about 6 feet apart, as it is anyway. So they're all separated in there at night, and that's how sleeping will work. They have hand washing stations all over site. All of our college leaders will have hand sanitizers on them during small groups, stuff like that, if a kid wants it. They will, they're going to be sanitizing and stuff in and out, cabins and rooms as we go in and out of them. All rec equipment will be sanitized and things like that. Some people have asked about the mask policies. Basically, the way that it's going to work is masks are to be worn in transitional areas. So anytime we have to fit a large number of people through just a few doors, So going in and out of buildings, like going into the auditorium for worship, going into the dining hall, they need to wear a mask. Now, once they sit down for worship, just like kind of in our church that you'll see maybe, is they can take their mask off if they want to once they've sat down. They'll sit with their small group, so that way we can kind of have a few controls there and things like that. They'll wear masks in congregating areas outside of that. So like the snack stand has a bunch of tables and stuff. They'll wear masks. If they want to go to the game room during free time to play board games, or we'll have a couple Nintendo Switches set up and stuff like that, they'll wear masks. And then the two free time options that are indoors outside of that will be floor hockey and blacklight dodgeball. They will not wear masks when they play, but they will have to wear them if they're sitting on the side and waiting for their game. Now, walking around camp and being outside where they can kind of control their own distance and be apart if they want and be self-accountable in that, they do not have to wear masks. Obviously, in the dining hall, they'll have to wear them as they wait, but once they sit down to eat, they will not have to wear masks. So that's a little bit on the mask policy. During the day, like during free time, we're not going to allow them to hang out in their cabins. One, it's going to be beautiful outside. It's going to feel really good. And because if we can keep them outside where they can space and run around and do whatever they want, then we don't have to worry about them congregating in that closed area for a long time where we can't really police some things. So that's some of the COVID policies and mask policies. Again, it's kind of written out in that list, but that speaks to a lot of the major ones. And then on that, so your packing list, as you're talking about departure and things like that. We always want to know packing list. One, on the link that I've given you, it has group colors. If you have never been to fall retreat or citywide historically, we usually give out color groups. This is the first year that we've given those out early, so that way kids could get stuff ahead of time if they wanted to. And it's assigned by grade. So 6th grade is purple, 7th grade is orange, 8th grade is red, 9th grade is green, 10th grade is yellow, 11th grade is black, and 12th grade is blue. Now, outside of just getting to match as a group and take funny pictures and wear colors and stuff like that, it really doesn't mean a lot. We'll refer to them as their color throughout the week. They only need to wear them Saturday as just kind of a fun thing that we do. We're going to give out like the biggest group, so the most registered grade, they get a late night fireside hangout Saturday night after a late night. The color that wins the most tournaments in free time, should they choose to play tournaments, we've got some cool fall retreat stuff for them that we're going to give them. And then the group that just like dresses the craziest in all their colors and has a ton of fun, they're going to get a free snack at the snack stand during the week. So that's a little bit of what we're going to do on prizes on those colors. That'll help you pack on Saturday. Other than that, they're going to need their Bible and a journal for taking notes and things like that. Even if they don't normally take notes, I think it's cool for them to be able to write down what God is teaching them and to have a record of that. They're going to want clothes for rec. They're going to want closed-toed shoes, sleeping bag or bedding. They're going to have bunks, but it's just going to be mattress. I personally, when I'm in that kind of situation, I just bring a sleeping bag because it's easy, but some kids like to bring the whole sheets and shebang. They will need to bring their own towel and toiletries. So parents of middle school boys, make sure you slide like 2 sticks of deodorant in that bag, help them out. There will be tubing on the back of some jet skis that we'll have out there that they will be able to register for, like a time slot if they want to. So they'll need a swimsuit for that. I think it's going to be a little bit too cool to open up the pool type of deal. But there will be tubing. So they'll need a swimsuit for that should they want to take part in that. Maybe bug spray. I don't know how it's going to be out there. It's getting a little bit cooler, but I don't know, probably not necessarily cold enough for the mosquito attack that I'm always undergoing. If they take any medications, so normally at camp, during the summer, if you go to Camp Clyde with us, they would have to turn in their medications and go to the nurse to take them. Fall retreat is different, and so camps are not accountable to the state in the same way during the summer, and so they won't have to turn their medications in, and every kid is self-accountable to their own medications. So just know that. It's nice to still have written on the paperwork allergies and stuff like that, just so the nurse can be aware. Lori Kirby is our nurse for the weekend, and she does an awesome job of keeping all that in order and knowing where to navigate to. And so that way, if a kid ends up in the nurse's office, she can quickly find their file and figure out what's good with them. They need to bring their own water bottle. There will be fill-up stations all over Highland Lakes for them to fill up, make sure they stay hydrated. A flashlight could be helpful at night. So if they want to bring a flashlight so they can navigate camp, it's pretty well lit. But I know last year, T-Bar M was not quite as well lit, so we had some kids take some spills, and so if they want to bring that, that's great. And then also their mask, and really I would maybe bring a couple of them just in case. I know we'll have a couple in my bag, and we'll try to have some of the paper blue ones on person as well, just to help them navigate as they get later in the weekend in some of those transitional areas. That's it on packing. I always talk about unpacking. Sometimes kids are like, oh, I want to bring, my Nintendo Switch, this and that. Here's what I always say. Don't bring anything that you don't want stolen. And so what I mean by that is obviously none of us want any of our stuff stolen. And yes, it is a Christian retreat and this kind of stuff, but we don't do background checks on children. We don't, ask them their history or anything like that. And things sometimes get stolen, but also just go missing because people lose stuff. I lose stuff all the time. Like we lose stuff in our house, and it's sometimes easier to just say that it was stolen. And so bringing expensive things like that is just not going to be responsible. And we're not going to be able to take the time to go all hands on deck and look for your kids' Nintendo Switch or even their cell phone. We have other things that we're trying to accomplish that weekend. And so we can't, spend the next hour just looking for your kid's cell phone. In the same way that if I lose my phone, I can't have all my leaders come around and try to find it or whatever it is. So just know that in packing. And the cell phone policy anyways, I tell all of our college leaders if it becomes a distraction, that they can take it for the weekend. And so there's a lot of things that can kind of come up with cell phones being on site. We don't say no cell phones because it would just be miserable to police and impossible. And we know that they're kids' cameras. We like for kids to have pictures of their events. Even just today on Instagram, we saw kids posting pictures from last year, getting excited for this weekend. And so just talk to your kid about responsibility on their phone, and just be aware that we could pull that. But also that if you need anything, you are welcome to text me. You are welcome to email me. You are also welcome to email Dawn at fbcmf.org. Again, she's going to be our event manager for the weekend. I just threw her email in the chat. And let us know if you need anything in that world. And we do pretty good at getting back to that. We'll have service out there. So just know that on some of those things. The cool parts of the weekend, the fun stuff, like here's what I like, the cool stuff now that we've got the garbage out of the way, is that this weekend is really cool because Jack Thweet, if you don't know that name, that's okay. He does worship for us for camp in the summer, but he also is the worship pastor at Breakaway at Texas A&M. So it's like a 10,000 person Bible study, one of the largest in the country, worship events weekly at A&M. And he's coming in and doing worship for us for Fall Retreat. Really good dude, really nice, and just incredibly talented. And our kids who go to Camp Collide and get to hear him love worshiping with him. And he is more excited than most years to be with us in the lead worship because he's not really getting to do that at A&M because gathering with 10,000 people is extremely frowned upon. And so he's just really excited to be there and do that with us. And so he'll be leading worship for us that weekend across 3 sessions. I get to do the speaking, which is really exciting for me. I like that I get to do the speaking for this event for our kids because I know our kids and what they need and what they're dealing with. We're going to be going through the book of Joshua and looking at some statements in Joshua. And so Friday night, we'll talk about the moment that they're getting ready to take Jericho, and the Lord's about to give them instructions, and a soldier of the army of the Lord shows up, and Joshua asks him, "Are you for us or for our adversaries?" And the soldier of the Lord says, "No, I'm for God." And it'll be kind of this check for us to go, hey, do we get so concerned with whether or not God is on our side or not that we forget to ask, hey, are we even in line with who the Lord is and what the Lord wants from us? And we'll lead with that in the weekend. Saturday morning, we'll wake up, we'll look at the passage a few chapters before that when they send spies into Jericho, and Rahab takes them into her home and hides them, and she begins to tell them that she has heard what the Lord has done with that people group, and it has changed her life, and she asks that the Lord spares her, and she ends up being a part of the lineage of Jesus, which is insane in so many ways. And even the fact that when she tells them, hey, I've heard what the Lord has done for you, she mentions parting the Red Sea, which has happened decades before this moment. And so she's just heard the history of how God has been good to his people, and it's changed her. And so we'll talk about, hey, what has your community heard about the Lord because of you? What has the Lord heard about the Lord because of our church, and things like that. And then in the final night, we'll actually be in Judges. We'll look at after Joshua dies, and then it says the generation after him dies, then the next generation forgot the things of the Lord. And we'll talk about what it looks like going out of retreat, the danger in forgetting the things of the Lord, and how we need to remember what God has done in our lives, because there's a great danger for the generations to follow us and the groups to follow us. And so that's where we'll be in content and what we'll be teaching. I'm really excited to go over that with our group. I think it's those points have been very life-changing for me and good for my soul, and I think they'll be good for our kids too. And we'll be bringing back our college leaders. We have pretty much all former students from the Loft and from First Baptist Marble Falls coming back to lead. They're excited to come back. I got to meet with them last night, and we just have some really good kids that God's doing a lot of cool things in their lives in college that are coming back to lead. This year is different in that we'll actually be coming together, not with other churches around our city, but around really Central Texas as a whole. We actually have a church coming all the way from Stephenville to be a part of our retreat. First Baptist Georgetown will be joining us, and Hill Country Fellowship in Burnett will be joining us. They'll be in separate cabins. They're not going to mix in cabins with our kids and stuff like that, but they'll be in worship with us. And so we're actually going to get to minister to about 350 teenagers from around the state of Texas across those churches. We'll be the biggest church there by quite a bit. But it's a cool thing that God is beginning to use this weekend that has been good for our church historically to now be good for the kingdom of God as a whole in Central Texas and things like that. And so that's given us a platform to do that is a really incredible thing. The weekend is officially over Sunday morning after our 10:30 worship service at First Baptist Marble Falls. And so when the weekend is over, we will leave retreat and we will come to church and we'll worship in our church service at 10:30. And we invite you to come worship with your kid and to be in there with, it's my favorite worship service of the year, just seeing teenagers excited about what God's done in their life and getting to worship with our church family as a whole, and you guys getting to see that. And so we'll celebrate and finish with that. And then afterwards, you're welcome to take them home, go to lunch. They'll need a nap for sure afterwards. But that's kind of on the pickup and departure end of things. Available Saturday to them in free time, we'll have a blacklight dodgeball tournament, ultimate frisbee tournament, and archery tag tournament, which is like dodgeball but with bow and arrows with foam tips. It's pretty fun. Those will be tournament style, but there'll also be just like a ton of free play stuff. So all those things, free play outside of tournament. There's basketball, there's sand volleyball courts, there's gaga ball, there's 9 square. First Baptist Georgetown's bringing floor hockey, which is a ton of fun. There's an adventure high ropes course that kids can sign up for. There'll only be about 50 slots that they're able to fill. But that'll be available. Your kids can bring a hammock and trees and just hang out with one another. A lot of our group really just enjoys doing that. There's going to be tubing. They'll be able to take about 150 kids out in total in 4 hours of free time out tubing, and so they can do that. They can register for paintball. There will be 2 hours of paintball slots. They can register. Man, I know that I'm missing something. But there's a couple other things, and all that is a part of their payment. So they don't have to pay extra for any of that. They just have to sign up for that the morning of and make sure that they get on those lists pretty quickly. And more than that, they can just hang out with their friends. It's nice to just have a place to hang out in this world today. So that is it on anything. I haven't seen any questions in the chat thus far. If you have any, I'll give you a little bit of time to get that in there. Just a reminder that you can email your forms to Stephanie at fbcmf.org. You don't need to email them to me, or you can drop them off at the office. Your kid can bring them up to the loft tomorrow. There will be computers up at the loft tomorrow night for kids to register for fall retreat if they have friends that want to register last minute or anything like that. And then we even keep it open till 11 o'clock tomorrow night because a lot of kids will leave the loft and go, oh man, all of a sudden I need all these kids to come. And so that link is still open. They can still register and that is still available to you guys. Other than that, if you need anything, most of you have my email, but you can email me at Lane at fbcmf.org. Awesome. I actually just got a text, and this is a good point. There will be a snack stand that is open between 1 and 5 during that time. There's a snack stand. It'll be open 8 to 10 o'clock on Friday night as well. We also have some cool free snack options. Like Friday night, everybody at Fall Retreat's going to get free Nellie's ice cream. Those like really awesome ice cream bars. We've had them at our church recently. That will be something that they need extra money for. Thanks, Melody, for sending that in. So yeah, that would be something they need extra money for. And Highland Lakes will have a merch store open. And so if they want to, a lot of our kids like to buy hoodies and stuff from camps and shirts. So if they want anything there, they'll need extra money for that. But that is it for sure. If you aren't subscribed to our Remind, you can text this code to 81010. We'll be sending out information throughout the rest of the week. And you may even get a few more emails just to keep everybody on their toes. And that should be super, super helpful to you guys. Other than that, if I missed anything, you can shoot me an email. A lot of you have my number. You can text me. You can also message me through the Remind, and that comes straight to me. And I try to do my best over the next few days to get back to you guys. Sometimes I get a little bit bogged down in responses, but usually I'm able to get there. Man, I'm thinking through cabins and stuff like that. Nope, I think we covered it. Really excited that we get to have this weekend. Really excited that we get to hang out with these teenagers. Excited for what the Lord's going to do. I know that this is a weekend that's restorative to me just as much as it is to them, that we look forward to, that our adults look forward to. So much so that I think we're just with our church, we'll have like 35 adults on site just for our kids, including our college leaders. And so we just, we have a good group, a good team that's going to be a part of that. And so we're really excited for that. But other than that, email me if you need something, shoot me a text, and I'll try to get that info. And if you know anybody that didn't watch this tonight, just send them the link because I'll save this video over and it can be accessed at any point. Thank you guys. Looking forward to hanging out with your kids, meeting you sometime if we haven't met. Always, you're welcome to walk in on a Wednesday night and see me. And I look forward to seeing them tomorrow night at the Loft. Y'all have a good night, guys.